All right, I'm currently on the phone with Jack Swagger. He's another musician that reached out about the interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hello. Hi, I am Jack, and I am a musician and an actor from the Twin Cities area.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's go kind of into some detail here. Tell me about when you first found music and identified with it, and you wanted to pursue it in your life.
Well, it was from a really early age that I knew I loved this kind of stuff. My grandfather and my father both were guitar players in rock and roll bands, and they both just, I just ever since I can remember, we just loved, classic rock and roll, classic cinema, films, acting. So just all of that kind of art was always kind of just really important at an early age, just because it was kind of, it's what we did. It's what's in our blood.
Okay, so you kind of grew up around it. Your parents were involved in it. What do you think about watching that kind of interaction from your family made you also want to participate in it? Do you think it was just kind of natural?
It was very natural. Yeah. I mean, I was just, you know, raised around it, and it was always just taught to be regarded as, it's just what we loved is high art, and I just took to it right away. I mean, as soon as I knew what rock and roll was, and what, acting and filmmaking and movies and film, was, I was just fascinated by it,
Sure.
that people could do that. And I was like, just loved it. I imitated it, and I knew I wanted to do that someday.
So let's kind of take the next step there. Once you kind of learned that it was in you and you wanted to participate in it, did you pick an instrument? Was one picked for you? How did you kind of begin the process?
I think that my dad and my grandpa got a guitar in my hands, a starter guitar, when I was probably 12 or 13. Um, and it took me a little while to kind of wrap my head around it. I mean, I loved the idea of guitar, and then sitting down and really working hard at trying to get half decent at playing a chord or learning a song, it just took a long time. um, but it taught me a lot. And yeah, ever since I can remember, getting a guitar put in my hand, and I would start learning songs. And
And were you mostly taught by your family, or did you do private lessons at all?
mostly just taught by family, and then would learn Beatles songs and stuff like that, and then eventually Nirvana or Radiohead or whatever I could learn off of my dad mostly. And then yeah, just kind of starting bands. I knew enough chords where I always wanted to start a band. I kind of, I feel like I don't, not that I skipped anything, but like that was what I wanted to do right away. I didn't want to like learn 10,000 covers right away. I learned a few, the first couple of years, and then once you know a few chords, I don't know. I wanted to be a songwriter. I knew that right away. Having my little 8 track and my tape player, and learning how to record and experiment. That was my. I didn't play video games or any of that, or you know, I played a little bit of sports, but I didn't follow much sports. I mean, ever since I can remember, it was trying to record music or learn or write music or get a camcorder and act with the neighborhood kids.
Sure.
And it's like
So
it's still there.
tell me about that recording process. Being really young and beginning to create music. Did you kind of just have kind of an adolescent perspective of it? And by that, I mean it kind of like the early morning radio show kind of like lyrics kind of thing, or did you have more of like kind of a flushed out concept of like what you wanted to actually create?
I think I knew what I wanted to create, but it's that thing of like teenage, like you're trying to figure out how to express yourself. And so I knew, I knew I wanted to record and create like a good song, so people would like it, or people would want to play music with me or whatever. But it took a long time. And you just keep going and going. But I was fascinated by the whole process of recording your guitar or your voice or programming your drums or whatever. But before I got a computer rig, like when GarageBand came out in the mid, early 2000s, I was on a little Tascam tape to tape, like cassette tape 4 track, and that was fascinating and fun. And, and I sometimes I talk about getting one of those again because it's so fun to just get back to basics like that. So that's how I learned to write songs. I think was just doing that for so long and trying to just do it enough to where you had a couple. You write 10, and then one's pretty good, and then you find your next batch, and then you got 3 or 4 that are pretty good, and you just
Okay,
you,
so
you just grow.
tell me about kind of how that transitioned into like your early adult life. Did you just kind of want to be a solo singer songwriter, or did you have like a full band lineup in mind? Give me some information about that.
Well, I always knew I wanted to be in a band and play songs, and probably by default, I knew I wanted to be the singer, but I knew the guitar was my vessel to write songs as well. And so I kept writing songs and trying to find a drummer or a bass player, get a band together all through high school, and it took a long time. And then eventually my senior year, um, I met a couple of guys, and that's how I started my first real band. Was Soviet Machines, and we did a lot of great stuff, and that was my best work at that point. I started really finding my home with songwriting, and Marcus was also into DIY recording, and so we would demo on our own, and we were kind of the ultimate high school punk rock band, and we loved it, and it taught me so much. And then, I moved on from that to a band called The Modern Era, and we made a few really great rock and roll records, and again, kept learning and kept getting better and trying stuff. And then I put out my first solo record in 2021, which was exactly 2 years ago from, I think it was yesterday. Uh, and I've got my second one is all done. It's getting mastered right now, so I'm excited to kind of be back. And I've got just a really good rock, sound on this one. A lot of kind of a good culmination of all the phases of my life, and it's great. So that's where we're at currently.
Okay, so tell me about what the idea is for that. Like, once that is released, do you want to put the full band together and then do shows, go out and tour, or is it kind of just going back in the studio, writing more? What do you envision is the trajectory of that?
Well, it's I'm really proud of it, and I made it with a bunch of friends of mine, and yeah, we definitely have at least one incarnation of a band headed that way. So yeah, I think we really want to get out and play shows again. I mean, with the pandemic, the last few years, it's been frustrating not being able to play as much as we used to, and so yeah, I think we're going to do a big tour. We haven't even announced the record yet, technically, but we will soon, and start getting some video stuff out there, and kind of I think do kind of a long promotion for it, and yeah, I'll turn 35. Let's see, for April 20th, 2024 is my 35th, and we're trying to have it out around then, and then do a tour around that, and that'd be really cool to do just kind of put it out there, a great rock record, and do some touring with our friends, and see what we can make of it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think people are going to really like this one. So.
So what are some of the memories that you have of participating in music or going to a show or writing that have kept you motivated and want to continue to make music and be a part of it?
Just what I've seen on like the high end, I guess, would be like those high moments when you think back to back when you saw the curtain come up at First Ave and it was sold out, and gosh, I must have been 18, 19 years old at the time, and um, going out and playing these amazing clubs across America, historic, legendary clubs, and great rooms, great audiences, doing fun things like amazing videos and interviews, and making and meeting fans I never get tired of it. I never see you know, any chore to it because it's amazing to me. So I just love all the high points of it. Makes me want to continue it because it's like, well, I've done this, and this, and all these things that are really cool, and there could be just countless more, around the corner. Because there's just so many people and connections and things to experience out there. So
Sure. So, how much crossover do you feel there is between acting and then performing music?
well, probably a lot more than most people would think. In my case personally, I mean, some people, everybody's wired little bit differently, but for me, it's always been very seamless. I I love being on a film set just as much as I love, being on the stage, getting ready to play a show, or in a studio creating a record. To me, yeah, to me, they're all just. It feels like I'm kind of at home and I, I don't know at my real job.
Sure.
That's what it is to me. Is yeah, it's it's work, but it's also home. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot. It's all creative expression, working with others in an environment where you're there for a common goal. Like you're there to have fun, but you're also there to get something done. And I just love it. I think that's the magic of creative expression, I think.
Perfect. All right. Well, where can people find the stuff that you put out and then follow you to make sure they, check out the album that you're coming out next year?
Well, let's see here. So links would be jackswagger.com is what my website. Instagram is at the real Jack Swagger. That's where you can find a lot of my content that I'll be, continuing to put out for both music and film. And I believe it's facebook.com/Jack Swagger Music. You can find me on Spotify, Bandcamp, all the good stuff. Follow me everywhere, and I'll have some great content coming out real quick here, and hopefully people like it.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So, what's a message that you have that you think other people should hear as well?
For those of you out there that are creative, I would just say just keep creatively, just keep following your instincts and have fun with what you're doing, but also be very serious about it. And yeah, just trust the process of like when getting it out there and watching people to respond to it is just such a great thing to do. And I think the world just needs more and more of that. So keep doing it. It'll take you amazing places. I have no doubt because that's my life.